worst thing you've ever overheard about yourself? I was 20 minutes late to what would be my last family barbecue, though I didn't know it yet. John had been my whole world for 5 years. Our wedding invitations were already printed, just months away from saying I do. His family had become the sanctuary I'd never had growing up. Where my own parents were cold and formal, his were all warmth and laughter. Call us mom and dad, they'd insisted at our very first dinner together, and I'd nearly cried right there at their dining table. Finally, I belonged somewhere. That safety let me take risks I'd never taken before. I'd transformed myself over the past year, thanks to some cheesy quote I'd found during a late-night scroll. Only stupid people pretend to know everything. Those 7 words cracked something open in me. I'd spent my whole life terrified of seeming stupid, always nodding and saying, like I understood. But what was the point of pretending? So I became someone new, someone who asked why bread needs yeast, how black holes bend time, whether everyone sees the color blue the same way. I filled my phone with questions like collecting seashells. John would laugh and pull me close when I'd interrupt dinner to type out, but why do only some snails have shells? He'd kiss my temple and call me his curious cat. I thought it was love. Until I hurried through their house that Saturday afternoon, still wearing my work badge and mentally rehearsing apologies for running so late. The sounds of laughter and conversation floated in from the backyard where everyone had already gathered, and I'd almost made it to the door when I heard John's mother speaking in a voice I didn't recognize. It was high-pitched, nasally, cruel. How does the sun work? Where should I put the fork? Why does nobody like me? How do I wipe my ass? The laughter hit me like a physical blow. My knees actually buckled. I had to grab the wall to stay upright. Through the glass door, I could see them perfectly. The whole family arranged around the patio table like a tableau of betrayal. John's brothers wiping tears from their eyes, their wives covering their mouths, his parents, the ones who called me daughter, red-faced with laughter, and John, the man who held me when I cried about my parents never calling, who promised me I'd never feel alone again. He was laughing harder than anyone. One of the wives managed to speak through her giggles. I actually don't mind her questions. I think it's cute. I felt a spark of relief thinking maybe, just maybe, someone was about to defend me and this nightmare would end, but his mother's response was swift and merciless. It's not cute, she's just stupid. The laughter that erupted then was different, meaner, and John's voice rose above them all. That beautiful laugh I'd fallen in love with now twisted into something monstrous. He threw his head back like it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. I don't remember backing away from the door. I don't remember walking to my car. I just remember sitting in their driveway, shaking so hard I couldn't type. Finally managed to text John that I was sick. Then I drove home and threw up for real. For 3 days, I barricaded myself in our guest room, claiming I didn't want to infect him. But really, I was desperately trying to rewrite what I'd heard. They had to be talking about someone else. It must have been taken out of context. Perhaps I was having some kind of breakdown and had imagined the whole thing, because the alternative meant that every I love you, every welcome to the family, every proud introduction as our future daughter-in-law had been a lie. I finally texted the sister-in-law who'd called me cute, asked if she could meet for coffee. The moment I said I'd heard them at the barbecue, her face went white. She stirred her latte like her life depended on it and confirmed my worst fears. This was regular entertainment for them. My questions, my curiosity, it all made John's mother feel stupid about dropping out of high school, so she'd turned me into the family joke. And John, in 5 years through so many family gatherings, he'd never once told them to stop. That night I confronted John at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd spent months planning our wedding. I recited his mother's cruel impression word for word and watched him scramble through every pathetic excuse. First I was eavesdropping, then I couldn't take a joke, then I was too sensitive. But when I stood to leave, he panicked and the truth spilled out. Yes, his mother had mocked me before, many times. And when I asked if he'd ever defended me in 5 years, he looked me in the eye and said he tried to. Tried to? Like defending the woman you're about to marry from being called stupid is something you attempt half-heartedly, like parallel parking or eating healthier. I pulled off my engagement ring. It left a pale indent on my finger, a ghost of promises that were never real. The sound it made hitting the table was so small, but it echoed like thunder. I moved out within a week. The sister-in-law texted me later that John was still lying to his family, telling them I just needed space to cool off. He couldn't even be honest about the wreckage he'd created. What haunts me most is realizing that if I hadn't been late that day, I would have married into a family that had turned my curiosity into a 5-year running joke. The most heartbreaking thing I ever heard about myself set me free, because the only stupid thing I ever did was trust my heart to people who were laughing at me all along.